Hey guys, so I briefly talked about this in a previous video when I was working on the garage, and this is a generator that I saved from the flood a few months ago. It was completely underwater, and it does turn over. The crankcase was full of water when I first got it, and I drained all over that. I took the cap off and turned it up on its side and drained the water out until the oil started coming out, so hopefully I got most of the water out. And we're going to change the oil at least twice in it to flush it out. This, as you can see, does have a natural gas hookup on it. Now, I have had it run. If I can find if my software will let me add a video from my phone, I'll put a little clip of it running in the back of my truck when I first got it, because I wanted to try to get any water out of the cylinder. So I cranked it over. It does have electric start, and it works. And I cranked it over without trying to start it for a while to get the spark plug out, to get all the water out of the cylinder. And I poured some oil down in the cylinder just to coat the cylinder walls. And I actually had it run on a carburetor cleaner just a little bit, and it seemed like it ran pretty good. So I don't know too much about it. I don't know if the generator part's going to be any good, if we might have to work on it. I don't know. The only thing I can tell you, this thing weighs a ton. It takes 2 people to lift it out of a truck. And it does have the hook on here for like an engine hoist, which would be a lifesaver on this, but I don't have one at the moment. Like I said, it was underwater. I unhooked all these lines when I first got it, and water poured out of them, and so did the inlet line. So I don't know if the regulator and all this is going to be any good or not. I really don't know. It's a 1978, that's what the number on the engine is. It is a 16 horsepower Briggs & Stratton cast iron block. That's why it weighs so much. Like I said, 1978, and it's a model 32. So this is like the biggest single cylinder flathead Briggs ever made, as far as I know. I checked a while ago, it does still turn over. If you see water on it, I just had to bring it in from outside and it's raining a little bit. So I was surprised that it still had spark after being underwater. I guess the points are sealed off pretty good on it. Do have a couple issues we're going to have to fix before we do anything. The first being the exhaust is broke off in the port, so this might be challenging to remove. So we're going to work on that first. I'm going to probably do a lot of that off camera just to speed the video up. And this line right here needs redone. It's fitting loose on the port where it connects, so I'll just put some fuel line on it. This hose will be good enough to get by with for right now, but I will change it out because it is dry rotting. It will be enough for testing to get it running, unless it's leaking really bad. I do have a gas hookup underneath the workbench, so I should be able to just run that down there and hook to it. Hopefully the fitting's the right one. If not, we'll have to unhook the tankless heater down there and hook into it for right now, because it does have a flexible hose like this. So hopefully we can get something going on it. Like I said, we'll check the oil in it. You can see that there's water in the oil, so we really should drain the oil out first before we try to run it. But I want to work on that exhaust first. I did want to talk about one other thing real quick. Anytime you're working on something that's been underwater or something, the most important thing is just let it dry out. Besides from draining like the water out of the oil or the crankcase and emptying your fuel tank, take your air breather off, unhook the lines, and take the spark plug out, pour some oil down the cylinder. Let it set at least overnight to air out to get most of the moisture out. And a lot of times it's not really going to damage anything. What really hurts an engine or anything is if if it's running, then it gets submerged underwater, or if it sucks in water through the intake, hydrolock it. That's when you get serious engine problems. But as long as you don't try to rush in and start using it. Yeah, I got it running that day because I knew it was going to be a while before I could work on it. And I want to get the moisture off the cylinder walls and off the rings on the piston. And I soaked it in oil, and it wasn't running very long. It just ran enough to do that. But as far as the electrical part goes on this, I don't know what kind of shape it's in. Like you see, it is missing the end cover on here because somebody hooked these wires up to it. So hopefully, I might have to clean the brushes and the commutator, stator, and to get it generating, but we'll see what we can do. I just wanted to briefly talk about things to watch out for when you start trying to get something running that's been underwater or something. Main thing is get the water out of it and let it air out on its own and go from there. Okay, so I tried taking a hammer and chisel to get it started, hoping it'll come right loose, but it won't budge. I tried taking a Dremel to split it, but I just can't get in there, and I don't have any stones that are wore down. So the only other idea I came up with, I got this bolt here. I got the nut grinded down halfway so it'll kind of fit inside there. I'm going to try to weld it to the pipe, not the block obviously, and enough to get a grip on there so I can get a ratchet on there and hopefully get it to break loose. I think it started budging, guys. Oh yeah. Perfect. Okay, so here's a new temporary muffler, just a standard general purpose muffler with 1-inch pipe threads and an 8-inch piece of 1-inch pipe. Don't forget to put lock nuts on everything. This was galvanized. I grinded most of the galvanized off. If at all possible, get a black iron pipe for exhaust, because the galvanized will give off fumes until it burns all the way off. So you gotta be very careful with that. So anytime you need a pipe for exhaust, get black iron if possible. Alright, so we're going to check for spark real quick. I got the starter hooked up. And we no longer have spark. So I got spark now. I had to clean the points a little bit. Got spark, put a new plug in it. I just took the stud out that holds the air filter in. You can see there's oil in there and got it draining out of the carburetor. It'll just help keep it'll burn out of them when it's running. It'll just help keep the smoke down some. So now I'm going to go ahead and try to raise it up in the air and try to change the oil a little bit. Okay, so I do not recommend this. Do not do this. I had to have somebody to raise it up off the ground. That's the only way I could come up with. Yeah. Okay guys, I flushed out the crankcase the best I could several times. Okay guys, so I'm going to do a test start of it just on carburetor cleaner. I got fresh oil in it. Okay, so after a delay, I finally got the fittings that I needed. And this is the main fitting I need. It fits on a 1/2-inch pipe, like that, screws on there, and that hose will screw onto that. So that's the main fitting I need. Will look like this. So we'll go ahead and hook this up off camera and try to get it running. That way I'm not making the video too long. We'll get right back to you on it after it's running on natural gas. Okay, so here's my gas hookup. I already had it running. It's actually running really good. It is a 12-volt solenoid right here, and I just want to get it running just to avoid some cranking on the video, I'll go ahead and start it up and show you what it's doing. And the only problem I got, the generator part wasn't putting out nothing at all, so I sanded the commutator, and I may have to take the brushes out to get everything working, but it's putting out 120 volts across where it's supposed to be putting 240 out, and it's like 60 volts to the neutral off each hot. So I mean, it's working, it's just not fully working. I think just something corroded up. But I'm gonna go ahead and start it. I didn't think you'd have to choke a gas generator like this, but a natural gas generator, but for some reason you do. I'm having to jump start off my truck because my jump start's dead for some reason. So I got the choke set. But it's running good, running real good, and it's not smoking. The only time it smokes It's like when you first start, you'll see a little puff, but like I said, also still needs an oil change too. I got cheap oil in it right now. Okay, so I found the problem. I took the brushes out. I tried to remove them from taking the caps off the top. I ended up having to take this whole plate off. You see it just bolts on right here. That ground wire hooks to it. So this is what the caps look like. They're from the top. There's two of them. One for each one. This is what the brush is supposed to look like. And this is what the other brush looks like. I can't find the actual, this part over here, the actual brush itself, so that's probably why it's just putting that 120 instead of 220. There's only half of it's working. I'm surprised that part's even working really. It's probably just making just enough contact just to do something. If the other piece is here, I can't find it. So I'm gonna have to try to find somebody that sells brushes. I might have to order them offline. Bad thing is I don't have no model numbers to go by because the end cap's missing on this. I can get parts for the engine, no problem, because the number's on the engine. But well, this is pretty much a universal piece. I just got to find something that's the same size as this. The spring part don't matter too much as long as it's similar to this. Okay, so this project's getting dragged out quite a bit. This is the brushes out of it, as you've seen. And this one's broke and the actual brush is disintegrated. So I took these to an electric motor shop. The guy said he didn't have them in that size, but he gave me these for free of charge. So he had a whole drawer full of them and I could have them. He says it's going to take a lot of work to get this down to this size, but you know, he might have just been joking with me now to think about it, but you know, we'll give it a shot. I also got these. These are for like a drill. They're closer in size, but they're not as thick. I think it'd just be a little too much slop in there and it probably wouldn't work. So to file them we go. So I'm not going to do this on camera obviously because it's going to take forever. I'm going to have to take the end off in the spring and solder this terminal and this spring, this wire on here, and do it like that. So yeah, this is going to take a lot of work. I don't want to bore you all with this. So I'm going to do most of this off camera. Ordinarily, you can just get the actual set if you got a part number for it and order it. Don't usually cost too much for something like this. I've had this Wind belt sander for a while and it's got a sanding disc right here. I don't know if you all seen this in the video or not, but my dad got this for me for my birthday last year. I always wanted one and I only used it a couple times on some wood, as you can see, so I figured this would probably be the easiest way to get this sanded true. I guess you gotta be careful with it. It'd be easy to get my finger caught in there, but well, I think I did it, guys. I'm just going to use the original one for now for one of them, and the one I made. It's not the best. I just placed the wire in. Hopefully the solder don't melt from heat or anything, but we'll find out. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead on putting the brushes back in. I'm not going to show it and make the video too much longer. So we'll get back to it here in just a second. Well guys, I got the brushes in it and it's still putting out half the power it's supposed to. So I'm getting about approximately 100 volts across the where it should be 240 and half that on the to ground. So then part of the coil on the generator on that one coil right there, that one winding looks like it's burned up compared to the other one. See, it's more copper looking. This one gets hot when it's running. That one doesn't. So there's something wrong with the windings in there. So about the only way to fix this would be to either switch generator heads or get this one rewound, or try to rewind it myself, which is probably not practical. But so for right now, it's just going to be put on the back burner. We do have a good engine. Don't smoke. And they got a nice gas setup for an updraft carburetor here. So if all else fails, we can put this on that 5500 watt one I got and use it. It just wouldn't be as much power as this one, but at least it'll work. So that'll be another video later on, unless I figure out something else with this. So that's pretty much it, guys. Sorry for an incomplete video, but you know, like I said, this thing did come out of somebody's junk pile, so it was given to me. So I can't complain about the engine part. It's a good engine. So, all right, guys. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.